Nerd On the Podcast is proudly partnered with Apogee Electronics and Odyssey Headphones, leaders in the field of audio.
What's up, everybody? I'm Becca Scott. I'm known for being a reporter on Magic the Gathering, the host of the show How to Play and Game the Game on Geek and Sundry, and I'm a Twitch streamer and an actor and a podcaster myself, and you are listening to Nerd On.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Nerd On, the podcast you didn't need, but you deserve, and where all levels of nerd are welcome. Before we get into this show, we are going to introduce the host. My name is Josh.
And I am your sexy Tom. I don't know. I was trying to think of something smart, but I'm just Tom.
And I'm going to accept that and just say that I'm Caitlin.
Sup, I'm Corey. I'm the loud boy, rude boy on the lot. How you doing? Welcome to our show.
So that's how it used to be.
Welcome to my office.
Oh, nice.
Welcome to Cribs, this world of magic happens.
That is an autographed John Carpenter anthology album. Thank you very much.
That's pretty amazing.
Framed picture.
And this episode is brought to you in part by the members of the Nerd On Nation that is powered by Patreon. As a member of the Nerd On Nation, you do get fun perks like early access to these episodes or bonus extra episodes from all of our podcasts. You get secret access to secret channels on our secret Discord.
Secret.
I just want to say secret.
Than Marvel's Secret Wars.
But yeah, check that out. It does allow us to grow and be better. This time in life is a lot of fun for content creators, and having the Nerd On Nation along for the ride has been super dope, and
we love you.
We love you guys. So consider joining nerdon.io/Patreon, and that Discord is nerdon.io/Discord. And a big shout out to our partners, Apogee Electronics, who provided us with these hype mics, the ultimate podcasting microphone. Super, they're just really great microphones.
Really great.
It all of a sudden became Nerd On, the ASMR podcast.
Well, I'm just repeating what you're saying in whispery, sexy voice.
We could 100% do that.
Yeah.
But that might change the context a little bit.
But also, Odyssey headphones. We have the LCD ones. Quite comfortable, quite yummy.
You know what we say here? If your ears were mouths, they'd taste like butter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
That's a quote.
Caitlin's like, yeah, we did say that.
I really hope one day they put it on their site. Like,
I need to just tell him.
Yeah.
I would
cry.
Hey,
we came up with our new endorsement.
I would cry, and whoever's in marketing should get fired.
Oh.
I guess that would be me on that one.
Okay, so that has been the housekeeping. Now, today we have a very special episode, a very special guest. Our guest today has boldly gone to places that we only dream to. You know her from hosting the DIY series How To with Becca, the Star Trek Rewatch podcast,
Rewatch?
To Boldly Watch, and the Geek and Sundry board game breakdown shows Game the Game and How to Play, and tons more. Nerd On fam.
Magic the Gathering.
That's true. Magic the Gathering. Please welcome a big, huge, warm welcome to Becca Scott. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. This is so much fun. How has it been in shutdown? How has this been for you?
Oh, I am thriving.
Yeah.
Yes, this is what I've been waiting for. This is what I live for. No, I mean, it's awful out there, and it super sucks. And, I'm definitely concerned about the world. For me personally, I like to sit inside and play video games, and, this is kind of working for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say you were joking a little bit, but for me, this has been like I'm digging this. I get some extra time with the wife. I get to play some games.
About it.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Quality relationship building time.
Exactly.
He's an extrovert, so now he can't leave. I've got him trapped.
Yeah.
Got him.
Really big on that.
It's working out in the cage.
My best friend in the world lives with us too. So I have all the humans I need and a dog and humans on the internet that I love. There you go.
So you're rocking the
You got everything you
You
need.
just built a dome for yourself. Now is your time to rise.
How has this
Wait, can we just change the topic of this podcast to Biodome?
Yes.
Ooh,
Biodome too.
Let me know. Pauly Shore, what up?
But how has this workflow been for you in terms of content creation? Like, has it changed? I imagine it's changed it a ton. Like, no going to studios. So you've had to basically, like us, we've had to adapt of like this space.
Totally. I was doing a lot of travel the past few years I've done a lot of stuff with Games Workshop that makes Warhammer. Not going to the UK anymore. And then traveling around for Magic the Gathering tournaments in the past year has been incredible. And I've gotten very obsessed with watching pro level Magic, which there is a players tour now is what they're called, happening right now. So, this is, you should be very complimented that I'm taking an hour off of that. But yeah, it definitely was an adjustment. And I am in the process of building up board game tutorials on my own YouTube channel.
Nice.
And so that was going to be a thing where I had all these plans for shooting in the studio and getting friends together to play games. And I'm like,
2020, baby.
Hold on. What can I shoot in my living room? What can I shoot in my little streaming room?
Yeah.
And then that thing that, people who work from home and freelancers deal with, that I'm sure you guys all deal with, which is there's no clocking out hour. So you really have to teach yourself. It's so important to not overload yourself, because you can work all night long. And especially when the first couple weeks happened, I was just, 11 p.m. still sitting at the computer, having not moved since 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Doing all the
best of your
metadata
time.
and all the things.
Do.
Yeah.
Trying to get it all
so
done.
You got to make time to step outside. You got to make time to do your
Eat.
breathing.
Yeah,
Eating.
definitely
Eating's
guilty of that.
important.
Eating, drinking
Yeah.
water.
And it's really hard to not doing like working meals where you're just like doing your lunch and doing work at the same time, and then you're not really spending that time for yourself.
I think that's kind
Totally.
of just
But I think
normal.
something that everyone that maybe never thought about mindfulness before is starting to do is like, okay, how can I structure a little more meditation into my day in a way that you didn't even have time for before? You were too busy in your morning commute or whatever it is. And now we've all realized like, oh, maybe I need some sort of tool to grasp onto to cope.
Yeah, maybe I should focus on self-health a little bit.
I started doing it like so I could get my meditation in. I started doing it like right in the morning. Like it's the first thing that I do so I don't get into work or anything like that. And I have to be like, don't turn on the computer, don't look at the phone, just do this thing.
Guilty.
And then you can get into it.
Yeah, totally. Don't start the day with doom scrolling, which is, maybe 2020 Merriam-Webster edition.
It's me.
Do you have like a pretty standard routine at this point, or is it just like the freelance life where it's like you never know what any week is going to be, and so it kind of shifts a little bit?
I have a very strict schedule.
Really?
Mondays I film How to Play. Tuesdays I stream. Wednesdays I record my podcast. Thursdays I stream for Geek and Sundry. Fridays I stream for myself. And then Saturdays I've started a tabletop board gaming stream. So that's it. And then there are sometimes curveballs of like new opportunities that come in, and I have to try and fit them around all those other things. So people are like, hey, when can we have a Zoom and hang out? I'm like, I really
It's not there.
3 weeks.
You just laugh hysterically.
It's interesting. You might actually be more busy now than you were before.
You would think so based on what I just told you. But
never
this is
mind.
me slowing down.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's no travel involved is the thing.
Fair.
I don't know if you guys are based in LA.
We are.
Yeah. But the car time is real.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you
I'm
don't
still-
know if it's
I'm
going to
still
take you
driving.
30 minutes to get somewhere or 2 hours.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
all a guess.
I'm still driving right now, and I deliver hard drives for different studios and stuff like that. So, the traffic is kind of similar to how it was because, people
we're
just want to
semi-open.
go
People gotta
outside.
work.
Yeah.
We're semi-open.
Semi-open.
It's a wild time. I want to ask you a quick question here. You talked about Magic the Gathering a little bit at the opening there. I'm a huge fan of Magic the Gathering. Huge fan of your stream and your
He's
coverage.
our cult leader.
Yeah, not quite as good as most people I'm friends with, but
he's
love
really
the game.
good.
Love your work on it, your coverage of the tours and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to kind of scroll back here and see how what got you into Magic the Gathering in the beginning. Do you remember what set it was? Like, how did that blossom?
Oh, what was right before Ravnica? I'm totally blanking. I have not been playing long at all. I started with Arena, with the beta for Arena.
Oh,
and
nice.
honestly, I was always intimidated by magic, very aware of it.
So it'd been like Ixalan or something like that.
Ixalan, yeah, Ixalan was when I started. Because it's such, I just knew there's 25 years of history there, and I don't want to get into it and not know enough, you know?
Right. Yeah.
But I want to say people shouldn't have that fear. There's so many different formats, so many different ways to play. You can hop in at any time. You can play standard. You can play commander. You can play, brawl on arena or now jumpstart. Or there's so many different options for whatever format you find the most fun or you have the most experience for. And for me, I'm just sticking with standard right now. But, I feel like as the cards move backwards in time, then I'll probably get more into, like cube drafts and more vintage and legacy type stuff. But I'm still very new at Magic, but also very obsessed. So my trivia knowledge of older cards is really lacking. But it doesn't matter. I don't have all the nerd cred when it comes to Magic. I just love it very much. I love seeing the skill level of these pros is
and the nice thing about Arena is it's so approachable. I've been able to get friends who I've been trying to get on Magic for years to finally jump in. Josh is one of them. To finally jump in and start experimenting. And it sounds kind of like that was the doorway for you. Was okay, this is approachable. It's a game I can get into.
It's accessible.
I do have to ask, do you have a favorite? So standard is your favorite format. Do you have drafting, constructed? Do you have a preference on?
I like to play limited, do a seal or a booster draft when a new set comes out, because I think that's a good way to get a handle on cards. And of course, the reason why that's how I'd like to play if I were playing paper with friends is because, back if that ever happens again,
right?
Is because it's such a leveler. You don't have to have the fancy cards. But I'm a real net decker. I wish I could say I'm a deck builder, but I'm kind of like, somebody thought it's such a cool thing. I want to try that, and I want to try that, and I want to try that. So I like to copy and paste. Yeah,
I mean that's a good way to learn how to make your own decks as well, though. Yeah. I would argue.
Right? See what works. And you still have to tweak and you have to sideboard if you're playing best of 3. But limited, I think, is the best way for me to grow as a player. Instead of just learning okay, well, this is what this deck is supposed to do. And in this situation, I memorize that I'm supposed to do a Shark Typhoon and cycle it for 3 and then block,
I totally understand. I'm awful at drafts. I try every set.
You try getting all of us do it with a full actual booster.
I bought a box when we could actually be in person and we tried to draft. It's not my skill set. So I'm very impressed with you. I've watched your stream a few times and just very impressed with how well you've done. I have to ask.
Well, I'm very complimented that you were impressed by my stream. I feel like there's a lot of me being like, no, you stupid.
I've done way worse. I promise. I have the last question on the Magic front here before I hand the mic out to someone else. Favorite colors to run in a deck? Do you have a preference?
Even for you guys that have only had a little taste of Magic, you probably know you hate blue.
Yes.
And I hate to say that the deck that's the most fun right now is Temur Reclamation, which is blue, green, red. And I have so much fun playing it. Everybody hates a blue player, but when you're the one that can just say nope to somebody's spell and it works and you had the mana up and they have no answer, it's the worst when it happens to you, but it's the best when you do it to somebody else.
I'm a blue-white all day.
Into a blue player.
When it happens
welcome to the dark side. No. Welcome.
When it happens to you, it feels like the game is broken. It feels like this is cheating. This is cheat. I've said this so many times. I feel like you're cheating. This shouldn't happen. This shouldn't be allowed to happen. This is a crime.
I'll be first to admit though, Tom, I have a problem. I legitimately have my buddy Kyle I play with has legitimately told me, he's I challenge you to not put blue in your decks when you build a deck. And I'm like, I will try. I promise. And no promises, but I will try. But I respect that.
The thing about blue is it requires great restraint. So it speaks well of your intelligence, I would say. I'm very impulsive. Me as a color, I'm red all the way. I mean, not just the hair dye. I mean, the real hair color. Because if I were to cosplay, it would be a Chandra, the Planeswalker. But I think that my nature is to be impulsive and to burn face. But it takes such restraint for me to play blue. So I feel like it helps me to grow as
I think you got the blue, green, red kind of balances that out pretty well. So
there you go.
Perfect.
Wow.
That was very exciting.
The two
very
Pisces,
exciting to hear your blue player.
Yeah.
Got a little same brain going on.
What's going on?
I think Virgo's an Earth sign. We're Pisces Virgos. Excuse me.
Please.
So like keeping with the tabletop nature of this, I've always been curious because I've been a fan of yours for a while, and watching there's been times that we've done streams of board games and we're like, we've never played this, but I found a Becca Scott video that teaches me how to play it. So this is what we're gonna do. So I've always
Eat
been
your heart out, Rodney Smith. I'm kidding. I really love Rodney Smith.
Cash the check.
So I've always been curious, like learning a new board game can be daunting. What is your process of learning a game and then figuring out a way to explain it to make it more accessible to a wider audience? Like, I imagine that there's a process because some games are like, oh, here are 5 boxes. This is one game. So
We usually have it
Well,
where. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, Tom, no, you. I've
well, I
been
was gonna say-
talking a lot. It's your podcast.
No. You are our guest. This is a rarefied air because of you. So, we usually done was like, okay, you set it up, you read the instructions, and then someone else just like opens all the packages.
Yeah. Becomes
Well,
a 3-man job.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely a thing. You never want to invite your friends over to play a game you haven't played without having read through it the night before. Because then you're like, stop talking, I got focus. I think what it comes down to is when you've played enough games, even if it's a really, really novel game, it's still borrowing concepts, like in movies or in script writing or whatever. There's only 5 different stories. It's the same thing with board game mechanics. So I think that the way that I've gotten really fast at learning them is sort of skimming it and saying, oh, okay, it's Carcassonne meets Clank or whatever.
Got it.
It is the mashup of these mechanics. And then I'll do this thing where I'll like jump and think I know the rules and then I'm wrong because they just want to twist it up. So I think having something that is the touchstone that you're like, okay, I know roughly how this is going to work. And then reading through carefully to see if you assumed it was one way and it is another. But
The nuances.
I think the more you read, the more you get an idea of what are the possible switching out of mechanics that can be there.
Right. I mean, the amount of times I've told
got it.
Tom during another game where he's like, how does this card thing work? I'm like, it's Scry 2 basically. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, it's the lingua franca of like games where it's like you just
tap it, just tap it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like this is a standby phase. Like, oh.
Mhm.
It's very interesting, I think, because it's like you're saying, like knowledge, the more knowledge you get, the more you'll just like start picking up clues and hints on other things, but then all nowhere you get a subversion. I want to, like Corey said, we write and create and develop narrative series stuffs. But I want to talk a little bit about your on screen as well as acting and performance and everything that's good about that. You've been in a lot of things. From a degree in theater performance and working with acting coach Gregory Berger. Am I saying that right?
The Berg.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then also taking an advanced class at UCB. You are no stranger from different capabilities and capacities being in front and behind the camera. So what have been...
what bio did you find that I probably wrote that?
I don't know. We'll see. I do a lot of scrubbing. I do a lot of scrubbing for the internet. But what has been some of the cool lessons that you've learned outside of acting from having to develop everything you've developed?
Listening. Listening is the most important thing in acting and improv and podcasting and talking to other humans. And it's hard to do. We're always waiting to speak, So I think really the Dalai Lama is probably best at it, at actually just not trying to cut in, just
He's
waiting.
not too bad. Fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So strive to be the Dalai Lama.
Nice.
And to
I'm gonna quote
listen
that.
like with your whole body. And that's a thing that is really big. So I've sort of moved, a lot towards hosting and my acting work. I'm pursuing auditioning less because auditioning sucks. It's like interviewing for jobs over and over. And I'd rather just, wait till my friends ask me to be in their projects. And
there you go.
That's a much easier method for sure.
yeah, that's my favorite way to act. And then haven't been since February, but acting class is just like a special place where I get to flex that muscle and I get to do Shakespeare and I get to do, whatever movie script I love and really just go for it. And I'm not doing it for any reason. And there's no pressure to be good or to like, reach for this dream. I'm living the dream by getting to talk about nerdy stuff all day. And so acting is just, it was the reason I moved to LA. And I still really love to act, but I think that that's always just going to be like my passion. And hey, I'm not saying like Scorsese, if you want to cast me. No, just kidding. Greta Gerwig, if you want to cast me in your next film. Yeah. 2-time Best Director winner in my mind, Greta Gerwig. I just gave her.
Same hometown.
If you're listening.
Yeah, which she is. She listens.
Yeah, no, yeah.
So Lady Bird was about your life.
It was. I remember seeing the St. Francis girls on the bus going to school, and I was like, "That's what Lady Bird's about."
Very cool. I went to an all-girls Catholic high school with a gray wraparound skirt. So
you felt it. That was about you as well.
It was about me. Yeah.
But I was gonna say right before all the shutdown, you were in a short. Thank you for your consideration.
Oh yeah.
I was like, was that one of your friends as well that brought you into their project, or was that?
I actually auditioned for that. Friend of a friend. And they were looking for somebody, and they sent me a script, and I said, "Fine, I'll tape it." And they cast me, so that was really fun. Yeah, I got to do a little short. It was just me in a bedroom in their house. There was this couple that had written a script, and they wrote it while they had to do a long distance relationship because Caitlin and Mitchell. Caitlin was across the country on the East Coast, and she was getting her master's, I believe. And so they kind of like. She's not a writer, he is, but they wanted to do something they could do together that was a project that would keep them close while being so physically far away. Yeah. So, and she had a crazy roommate when she was there. So it's basically about this like crazy type A manic roommate. And I identify with all of those traits.
I was going to say, I identified with that entire short. I was like, oh my God. But you went through the entire emotional arc, which was, it's a one-person show. It's all in one location. So there's a lot of wonderful creativeness to it. And so it's funny, you were saying like how you kind of transitioned more into hosting, but it's without a doubt that, the acting is still within your blood. So.
Well, that's all. I mean, I really love the acting school I started going to, and I'm just going to talk about my guru right now. Gregory Berger Sobek. I think he dropped the Sobek. Gregory Berger. He is the acting coach for Riz Ahmed and Lupita Nyong'o, and has worked with those two actors. And Winston.
From Black Panther, right?
From Black Panther and Us. Winston. And he loves to talk about those actors, and like his process is really incredible. With really just breaking down, like, get out of your fucking head. It's so much about affecting the other person and doing it physically and needing to, like, if half the time casting directors put it on mute and everything should be, you should be able to convey an entire story with your physical subtext. We're never actually saying, unless you're doing Shakespeare, which has no subtext, it's just beautiful language explaining exactly what you're feeling. That's the exception. But most of the time, everything that you're doing and conveying is done with your body and your face. And so that's why I don't want to go to acting class over Zoom. And so I've just been
really hard.
Not the same.
Yeah.
No, not the same.
But I have been working harder than ever and growing more than ever with a teacher that I really love. And I think it's important to have that sort of community where you feel safe and you're just starting to break down that, for me, it's a need to be perfect. That is the greatest thing getting in my way as an actor, not wanting to do it right. And there is no right. The most interesting thing to watch is like messy.
Yeah. I went to college for acting, and that's why I moved to LA as well. And I've been missing it so much that I haven't told you guys, but I signed up for an acting class.
Hey. Okay. We're doing it live. Cool. Hey, congratulations.
But is it with Berg Studios?
I was going to say, tell Gregory Berger that, we say hi.
No, but I did look into Berger. I was like, Anyway.
You wouldn't be sorry.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
With that, going in from talking about acting and hosting and games, there has been I don't know if it's a failed sense, but there has been a rise of films based off board games. You've had the wonderful
Battleship, best movie about a board game.
You had Clue, you have Tim Curry and Clue, and then even films about board games. So we have game night with Corey's other wife, Rachel McAdams.
Mm.
But what do you think? I want to get your thoughts because you're one. You're infinite well of knowledge of board games. So what do you think? What board game should get the Hollywood treatment?
Ooh.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the only 2 good board game movies ever made, and it is a very untapped market. There's, so many graphic novels turned into films and novels turned into films, and there's really great stories in some rule books that are finally being tapped on. I know that Jerry Hawthorne, who's with Plaid Hat Games and created Mice and Mystics, I heard that was announced. Maybe DreamWorks was doing something with that. Who knows, post-pandemic. And it may have been, it's about mice on basically a dungeon crawl.
That's awesome.
So that could be a really fun one. But I would love to see more crossover, and I would love to be in it. Hello, producers, you listening? So yeah, excited to see if that comes about. But let's see other games that are really character specific.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I mean, I've always wanted to see Mansions of Madness, like Arkham Horror type, H.P.
Yes.
Lovecraft type movie. Super solid characters like Ashcan Pete, the guy with the guitar and the dog. You got Nick with the 2 pistols. Like it's about this mansion that completely changes every time you play. I think it could be a great movie.
Corey, you nailed it. And that's just Scream's franchise, same house, different cast. Yeah, I love that. I've been getting it really into Call of Cthulhu, the RPG lately.
Yes.
I've been guesting on a stream, and then I went and I bought the book, and then I bought like a starter kit, and I bought.
So you're actually going to have the madness, and then it's going to be a whole sunken city.
It's going to
happen.
Start getting the madness.
Yes, start.
So I have to ask, as a fellow Harry Potter tattoo owner, what?
No, that's not it.
What is your favorite Harry Potter book and movie? Because they can be different.
Well, Azkaban's the best movie, right?
Bam! Sorry.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Because
Because
was it
Lupin's in it.
Alfonso
Alfonso
Cuarón?
Cuarón.
Yeah.
Alfonso Cuarón knows how
Roma.
to
You know,
direct.
you got to nerd out about the good director that maybe had never read Harry Potter, but was like, I have an idea for this film.
Circles.
He read it. Yeah. Beautifully done. Just rewatched not too long ago. And then favorite book. Oh, I'd have to say the last one, Deathly Hallows is the last one. Yeah. It's just such an epic, you know, when you got to split it into 2 movies that are
So
one of
weird.
those, like, do you even have to watch the first one? Because they're saving all the good stuff for the second movie. But I don't know. I think I love Harry Potter so much, despite J.K. Rowling's turfiness.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
But, you know, we can separate.
R.I.P.
We can separate the things, the IP we love. I think, so I started re-listening to all the books on audiobook because it had been a while, and I was going to a LARP in a castle in Poland that was College of Wizardry themed, so it could remain not infringing upon IP, but we all knew what it was. And I realized that there's a lot that gets more mature about the way that she writes about magic as the books go on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But even at the end, there's this sense that magic can come from nowhere. Where so my obsession, my later obsession in the realm of fantasy writing is the Dresden Files.
Yep.
Nice.
It just made me realize I need to get a Dresden Files tattoo. But
You're welcome.
Solid series.
And what I really like, so many things about the Dresden Files are amazing. The protagonist, Harry, Blackstone, Copperfield, Dresden, his retinue, his posse that always has his back. But I like the system of magic that draws on, you know, your physical life energy or nature, like you're drawing from the energy of the earth.
It's a better hard magic system.
Yeah, I like hard magic systems.
Yeah, they have rules.
That's the terminology.
And then you can subvert them instead of being
It
like.
is. I mean, as much as magic can be in those series, it's like it almost feels grounded, which is why like Unbreakable is one of my favorite superhero films because it's this like that could happen. Yeah, I could see that for sure. Yeah, you've explained it in a way that makes sense to me in the real world. And that's
I love that.
It's a big sell for me.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I actually wrote down a question saying, before the shutdown, you'd spend hours listening to audiobooks of the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. I have a very good friend who he, if you are to magic, he is to the Dresden Files. To me, trying to get me to read these. And so I said, like, hey man, we'll be talking to Becca Scott, and then he said, ask what would be your favorite book, and then your favorite side character.
Oh.
Side character, like from a side quest, because
Yeah.
What's Bigfoot? River. Anyway, there's a Bigfoot type character, and his name is River Shoulders. There it is.
There it is.
Well,
I like that just translate to wide shoulders.
My favorite book is probably Changes.
Why?
And I want to say, because everything changes.
And scene.
All right, there you go. That's fair enough.
For title and description changes.
There it is.
I like Ghost Story quite a bit. Spoilers. He dies and is a ghost. But don't worry, there are more books afterwards, so maybe he doesn't stay a ghost.
I mean,
We'll
it's
see.
magic.
That's really fun. I just think Jim Butcher is a magician. And he just came out with a new book called Peace Talks, which I listened to the audiobook in like 2 days. And then
You restreamed it.
and then I read a couple chapters aloud to my Twitch stream because I thought, you know what, let's just do something different. And then I was disappointed when I got to the end because it was a Deathly Hallows situation where this book it's the first time he's split the conflict, the main arc of the story into 2 books. He was just like, I think I wrote too much for one book. So we got another release in September. So I didn't really know that going into it. And I was like, wait, what? But we're not going to, and then there's the,
but James
the
Marsters
best
is also
character is
soothing.
Mouse. James Marsters is yeah. So Mouse is his big temple food dog. And a temple dog, I think, has a human soul and can understand and communicate as a very intelligent being, like basically a demigod type being that is a protector for him and his daughter. And sorry if you're very on in the series and you don't know he has a daughter or gets a temple food dog.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Or you think he's just a regular dog.
No, I mean, obviously, again, we call it research, call it stalking. We did a lot of research to try to figure out, what things that you could talk about that you sometimes may not get a chance to talk about. But I did want to.
You guys are checking all the boxes.
Good. Because there's one last thing before we get into the second part of the show. You once played Blue in Beirut, a play about a plague and a quarantined population. Although that was a metaphor for HIV, how do you foresee, in terms of the future, content being made about this current quarantine population?
Oh, God. That play is... I'm getting chills in my micro just thinking about it because it was one of the last things I did before moving to LA from Kansas City is where I grew up.
Shout
went
out.
to school. Yeah, what up, Casey? And Beirut, like it's very hard to find this play, but I worked with this little theater that I think they just closed last year called The Living Room, and they had like this 3-story warehouse, and the seating would change for any particular production, and it was made up of like just recovered old armchairs and couches and stuff. So that's why it was called The Living Room. And they put on these incredible productions. And this one was a thrust stage, 3 sides of seating. And it's just a 2-hander. There's 2 people in the play. And I grew as an actor in a way that I did not do in college plays of like, and now I stand here and say the lines. It was like the first time where I really felt like I was telling a story with my whole body. And it helped that I was in my underwear for 90% of that play.
Nice.
That's what fills the seats, but they stay for the heart.
Nice.
Well, I think it
really
adds a
just like
layer of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. You get it, Caitlin.
She's an actor.
It really does. Man, we all pretend to be nerdy podcasters, but really we're just waiting for our day.
Well, we're pop culture nerdiness. Acting is all about understanding people. I mean, that's what all of it is, really. So like storytelling is like the prevalent force in all of pop culture. Like you're just trying to tell a story, and the same holds true with acting. So there's all these common threads of like, I'm just trying to communicate
overlaps.
this story. And especially as an actor, like you're just trying to find the depth of how do I communicate this story accurately. And like that is the thing that will change you.
Well said. Snaps for that.
That's so beautifully said. Yeah.
Well done,
It's
Caitlin.
like
That's
she
great.
had to have the internal monologue with herself about a role or something.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
more than once.
But
Who would have thought?
the question you asked was, how is content going to change? And I think people are trying to figure out what to write about a quarantine couple now, the quarantine love story or whatever, which we're going to get 1,000 of in the next year, or 1 billion. And I think that what was really meaningful about Beirut was that the story transcended exactly what it was. It was taken to its extreme. What would the AIDS crisis be if you like quarantined anybody with this thing? And it wasn't just like a thing that you would catch and it would go away. You have it forever. And so the play is about me sneaking in to be with the guy that I love. And he's like resisting because he doesn't want me to, give my life away for that. It was really, really meaningful. And I think that it's after we step out of the quarantine and we take it to the hyperbole of like, how does this change the world? Or what are the lessons that we learn about connecting with one another that we can take away? And those will be the meaningful stories.
Yeah, I've written a feature-length film about things into genre, and then now after this I'm like, oh god, now it's just going to seem like such a cliche because it's much more about like human relationships, but then now everyone's going to have something in that similar vein because it deals with this like worldwide kind of event. So
nobody says it with Tom's voice.
I know, right? Who'll see. I mean, I want to. Yeah. Anyways, not about me.
We have the camera, Tom.
I know. We'll do it.
Make it.
We'll do it. I'll call you and I'll say, hey, this is a favor now, and I'm going to ask you to come in. But transitioning to getting to talk about something that you get your nerd on about. What is your favorite movie, and why is it Groundhog's Day?
Well, I said this is in my top 5,
right?
But it's one I love to talk about because I think it gets forgotten. Or this Groundhog Day was made in 1993, so these kids nowadays, they don't know that the greatest fantasy film was disguised as a rom-com. It is a fantasy tragedy, I say.
I like this take.
Yeah, Bill Murray wakes up in the same day over and over and over. And I think it was a scene that was cut out, or maybe it was cut out before it was ever shot, where he goes into a library and reads one page, and then he does that every single day until he's read the entire library. And that's, if you take this to its extreme, that's how dark this film is. What would you do if you essentially
that does
became
give it a
a
whole
god?
different tone to the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it may just sound like, oh, we got Andy McDowell being charming and Bill Murray trying to seduce her, but he's stuck in a time loop.
Man,
I think someone did the math. I forget who it was. Someone did the math, but it was something like 12,000 days, 12,400 days, like 8 years.
There's a lot of YouTube videos for that. Yeah.
8 years and 6 months.
What Culture's got one.
It.
Yeah. But Harold Ramis
would you guys
said,
want that many? Oh, would you guys want that? Like, what would you do with that time? Does that sound amazing, or is that what quarantine has been?
I was going to say, I felt like
it's really relevant right now.
Yeah, I felt like you picked it because of what's going on, and it's like we're in our own Groundhog's Day. It's like, what have you been doing? But
it's tough to say. Would you want that? Because eternity is a long time to live in one specific day. I think it would depend on the day for sure. But if I had unlimited time, I think we kind of talked about this before we recorded today. We got asked a question by our fans: would we want like a Matrix download, learn how to do stuff? Would that, if that was real, would you do it? And I said 100%, because my Schoolhouse Rock days, knowledge is power. Like, I would try to learn as many things as I can. Absolutely. The one day at a time page. I like that idea.
I mean, the nice thing about Groundhog's Day world is that if you die, you just come back, right? So, you don't have the Twilight Zone effect where like all these books and your glasses breaks. And it's like, I had the time, you have you have the ability. It's like, I can do it now. It's like,
thank you for that reference.
Yeah. It's like, you can actually do things like if you and I mean, I rewatched Groundhog's Day for this episode.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's because of the quarantine
Well,
or
then
something.
you should learn that there's no S on Groundhog.
It's true. Groundhog Day.
Ooh, I
but,
love you so
I know.
much. You just
All
got
right,
so
well,
many
I'm
points
out.
with
Thank
me.
you guys. But no,
been a real time.
I cried like a baby, like a little bitch, and I was like, my God, what's happening to me? And
Emotions,
it's a
Tom.
really touching
The
story.
feels is reals, Tom.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's
The feels is reals.
like
What
yeah.
about it made you cry?
Well,
Or what scene?
I'm a big sap. I on the show. My personality is the grumpy asshole guy who hypes it up and dabs like a
At least you know.
stupid kid. But like I'm in all honesty like a sap for like
Mhm.
for romance and finding love and happiness and stuff like that and cathartic understanding of the universe.
The way
and
I feel
it's-
about dad stories in movies, Tom feels about rom-coms.
romance, yeah,
Just
And so-
crushes me.
But the thing that I loved about it
Are
was
you close to your dad? Total tangent. Sorry.
It's a whole.
that's
it's a whole
it.
thing. Yes and
see,
no.
For another day.
I'm very close to
immediately
my
picked up on
stepdad.
it.
Aw.
But yeah, I those kind of dad stories crush me, and I feel like
Every
Tom,
time.
you feel the same way about
Well,
rom-coms.
The thing
Just
that
like-
changed it about this film is that it's subverted where like, it's not the stupid, get the girl and the story, blah, 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 because it's a very easy narrative to follow. But the actual catharsis of the film and the lessons he has to learn is to be a good human being. And so when he has that moment to go back to his ways of getting after Rita, then he says, no, I need to take a rain check. And that's when he makes the decision and it's like, well, okay, cool. Like you have truly learned the thesis of the film and not.
Don't make me
Yeah.
cry.
So
Yeah.
I was like, oh
Yeah,
my
he asked for the rain check.
yeah, it's like that was the thing. I was like, like, and that's the thing where it's like the love will find you once you love yourself and love other people.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's like that's often a piece of like being married. That's often a piece of
Must be
advice
nice.
that it is. It's one of those things that I always try to tell people
For
is
real.
that a relationship isn't like two halves making a whole. It's two wholes that make this thing. And I love that he learned that he had to. Yes, he was already selfish before, but he had to learn true self-care and true
Lessness.
selfless and selfishness at the same time, like bettering himself is what I mean.
Well, he
so that
says
he
it in the
could
scene
be-
with Rita where he's like, I barely like myself. Like that's the
Great
thing
line.
he needs to come to
Great
terms-
line.
Yeah.
It's a very true line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easily.
And
I mean, for me, the part that kills me every time watching this movie, since we're talking about sad things in this comedy, but there are some really truly
It's not a
heartbreaking.
comedy.
Yeah,
It's
true.
just got some funny lines.
But I feel like his turn starts happening when he starts taking care of the homeless guy who he calls Pops.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
no
man.
matter what he does, there's no way to save this guy. And I think that's that turning point for me every time in that movie. I'm like, okay, so
caring
gonna
about a
get
guy
real
he calls
now.
pops and dad.
oh, there it is. It's a dad story.
It's a dad story.
Oh, okay. The dad story
Again,
stuck out to
comes
you.
out.
But
Got
that's
it.
that point is always for me the turning point of the film. From kind of like I said, from there it turns from the kind of quirky fantasy comedy to this story about a person finding who they truly are. And that montage of taking him to the hospital, taking him to the soup kitchen, all that kind of stuff has always been this point that draws me in. I'm like, okay, I'm in for the rest of this
Show me
movie
the
now.
chart.
I'm focused.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as you're saying, it's not just about it's about him becoming the perfect version of himself, which we all want to be, but you kind of don't know how. And speaking of marriage, my husband has been on
Shout
a kick listening to the Bhagavad Gita, like a sacred text of Hinduism.
Oh wow.
Wow.
And it's all about selflessness. He's a very inquisitive mind.
I was a monk.
Talk
You
about
don't have to
knowledge is
explain. You don't have to explain.
Wait, for real?
I was, yeah. I had to shave my
Mhm.
eyebrows in my head. It was a whole.
I would
Oh, yeah.
like to know more, but I'm
Outside.
so that's what he learns in this is that the way to his full holistic finding his whole self is selflessness and in a beautiful way. And so many movies from the 90s and any time before 2019 are problematic in the way that they treat women and the way that they treat people of color. Now that I think about it, I don't know if any people of color live in Punxsutawney, so that's still there, but is true to this town probably. But the way that women are treated, Rita is such a strong character that respects herself. And when Bill Murray's character is disrespectful, that's him being the worst person, the worst version of himself. And on his perfect day, there aren't those problematic moments. So that's why this movie really, really stands up, passes the time test, because he can do very problematic things, and then he's punished.
Yeah. Cue the slap montage.
Over and over again.
The slap montage is amazing.
So good.
I mean, we're talking its graces, but if you want to be really reductive about the film, if you think about it, it is a superhero trying to do a perfect run.
Yeah,
That's all it
Okay.
is.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, he's just a speedrunner.
It's just a speedrunner trying to do a
He's just
perfect run
speedrunning the
and
day.
saving people. Like, it's a superhero movie. There's love, death, sex.
It's a wipe. Start the day over.
It's so
Yeah.
much. I was thinking about. I was like, this is like doing a
No
raid.
save
this,
points.
This is like a restart. We got. It was
Yeah.
very. It was kind of fun watching
Right.
it.
Do you think he ever killed himself just like, oh, I messed up, let me try again?
Oh.
Versus like the times when he had said his deepest despair trying to just
100%.
kill himself every way. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I mean, maybe
100%.
that's was his like pre understanding of what the world was. He would just kill himself because like, oh, I didn't understand it. But then after he has learned like he needs to better himself by bettering people, he probably just took that lesson and it's like, I have to live with it, and then still learn how to throw cards into a hat. Because you still need to learn at the end of the day, even if you make a big boo boo, your day's not over yet.
Learning how to play piano
Yeah.
was a big inspiration
with
for
the
me
lesson
in that movie.
every day.
I love it. And then on the final day, his teacher
That's
says,
my
"That's my student."
Which for her,
I'm like,
she started
obviously
teaching him
he
that
showed
day.
up an expert. Yeah. Do you think he started pretending he was bad at the beginning of the lesson so
And
that
just
she
learns
could
that
feel
quick.
good?
Yeah.
It has to be
100%.
because if he has completely changed 180 of like bad person, make people feel bad and dumb, then to make people feel good about themselves, he had to have been like, oh, I don't know,
Oh, just do it this way, and then nails it the first time
Yeah.
for like
And
2
he
hours
probably
straight.
says like, you're a really good teacher.
Again, speed running.
Yeah, exactly.
Speed running. He's just speed running.
Skill tree.
Uh,
Skill tree.
Yeah.
So
Actually, I had a big it was like a mind blow experience realizing that Michael Shannon is the groom of the married couple.
Oh yeah.
General Zod.
General Zod was in Groundhog Day. I'm just saying.
Amazing. My favorite side character,
Ooh.
Ned Ryerson.
Oh, God.
Ned Ryerson.
He's so he's such a good
He's
character.
fantastic.
He's such a good character.
Now that's
I
a
hate him.
tragic character. He tries so hard, like the definition of a tryhard, which I think we all can relate to on a certain level.
But he's
I just
Yeah.
want you to like me.
But he's kind of a
Yeah.
dick because he's like, watch that first step. It's like, okay, man,
It's
you
a
could have
doozy.
helped me out. You could have,
Nothing brought me more joy in my life than when he hugged him and is like, "Where are you going?
you should.
You should
Leave
come
work.
with me." And
Wherever
he's
you're
like,
going, I want to go
"Ah,
with you.
ha, ha," and just leaves. Like
But
I was
then
like,
the
"Yes,
end-
thank you."
He bought all the insurance, bought him a cup of coffee. I love it. Stephen Tobolowsky is one of those actors who's been in so many things and nails it every time. And I know this was obviously his like big jumping off point. Like this is the thing that shot him to stardom. But even his work on Curb Your Enthusiasm, if you watched that at all, his episode is during Passover, and it's just brilliant. I've got to give a shout out to him because being able to play that energy over and over. That's another thing that caught me about this movie is it must have been really hard to act because you have to do and say things the same way every scene while Bill Murray is doing different things every scene. And it kind of slipped onto my mind when I was watching it the other night. And I was like, I would hate this. I'm pretty inconsistent with my acting on screen, and that is hard to do.
I thought
Even
about
the
it from
slap montage too.
yeah,
They had to be in so many different locations, so many different times, and getting slapped. And I'm sure that you mess things up. Oh, hit me again. All right.
Yeah. Or when they film these scenes, like the stairway with the guy who's like, "Good morning, how you doing?" They shot all of that in one day. So not only does Bill Murray have to in one day, he had to advance from brand new to crazy to fine with it all. But this guy had to deliver that line no matter what was happening the same way every day. Any of the ones that lined up, obviously, they have different reactions. But I think that's so impressive.
I think the way Harold Ramis directed it was, okay, Bill, you're on month 3, go. Or just told him sort of like, this is day 2, go. And so he knows what level of asshole to bring. And Bill Murray's freaking incredible because actually as an actor, I think the easy part is doing the exact same thing over and over. The hard part is doing it slightly differently each time.
Yeah.
But like trying to nail the exact same intonation and movement, that's kind of like the rut you get stuck in, is like, okay, let me just do it again. And you know what your body did. And, you do it a couple times and then you do 20 takes and then you're a robot. And then the hard part is breaking free of that and giving it like a little bit of something different based on what you're receiving. And everybody does an incredible job of this. There's this scene where he sits next to Annie McDowell and asks, can I buy you a drink? And she wants sweet vermouth with a twist on the rocks with a twist. What's wrong with you? That's a horrible drink. But so then he comes back the next day, sweet vermouth on the rocks with a twist. Got it. And orders the same drink. And then what should we cheers to? The Groundhog. Oh, I always cheers to world peace.
Yeah.
And then he comes back and she calls him out. But she has, I just noticed, I was just watching that thing very closely. In each one, he'd say something and she'd give this little like eyebrow, like just slight, taken aback by when he said, oh, the same thing as her. But she nailed the same way in what was clearly a different take. And to your point of just making sure that your eyebrow raise is the same or your smirk is the same is definitely.
Annie McDowell is a gem.
Weddings and
that.
Yeah. And I mean, there was one thing about that, with the 19th century French poetry, and when he has to redo that sequence, I thought it was really cool in terms of the editing room where they, when he gets it right, they cut to a close up of her, and then they, use the beauty 45-degree angle, and it's like, all right, this is going to be the perfect date day, So, there are things like that for me. I felt like from a filmmaking standpoint, obviously I'm not an actor, so like I'm totally okay with like subject the actors to this thing, but it's like hey, like we're in the same setup, baby. We're gonna just shoot the same thing, just gonna retake it. Now this is a different day, and do all this stuff. So for me, I was like, this must have been a dream to shoot. Like it's like, oh, this is just the same shot but a different day, and it's like you can just possibly reuse the shot.
Well, from like a technical standpoint.
Yeah, from a technical standpoint.
I can see
oh
that.
my gosh, setting up the shots that day, setting up the schedule, shooting locations, all that must have been just like, oh, now you're done.
One setup per day.
Exactly. Now you're done, and we don't have to do company moves.
I've AD'd some stuff in my time, so I can relate.
Yeah, but then you do feel bad for the actors, like, oh, okay, they're have to go through this again. They're gonna have to go through these things.
It's basically like shifting who it's difficult for.
Exactly. Yeah, and then I mean that's the art where it's like you have to make sure that everyone hates it evenly or loves it evenly.
Yeah.
So
I am now, that movie has now changed for me looking at Ned as a tragic character. I got to go back and rewatch it now because I love that idea.
Ned.
Yeah. Poor Ned.
Maybe. I think he's so slimy.
And Rita.
Yeah.
Rita is such a beautiful character because the whole thing is let me get the girl. And she's not a girl to be gotten. No. She needs to get to know someone. You have to really, really, she has to trust you so completely. And for her, that's not a one-day process ever.
It's a 12,000
until you
day
are
process.
a literal god. And then she might follow you around.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, and I mean, there's
that day was phenomenal, by the way.
I almost would argue that like when he just tells her that he's God, that he built a better connection with her than he did of just knowing exactly what answers in the dating sim to say, like him just being truthful and honest about how he feels and what he's going through is what you really need.
And the moment she opens the note and it says the exact words that their camera guy comes in and says, I love that. It's chills every time. Every time that scene comes up, I get chills.
Becca, do you have a ultimate, your favorite scene?
Well, the party scene at the end.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
Because that's the culmination of seeing one group of people he touched after the other, and we got married because you talked us out of our cold feet, and you saved my husband, and now you're part of the family, and he's playing the music and they're dancing, and I think that's where the dating auction is as well.
Yeah,
yeah, of course, because that's why they dance, and it's just the culmination of living the perfect day, and
yeah.
Isn't that what we're all trying to get? Is just live that perfect day?
Yeah, I mean, just coming to terms with who you are as a person and just being like, cool, I'm cool with that. This is what I have to do, and this is what I do.
I think
that scene
and also the chase scene where he steals the groundhog and
don't drive angry.
Yes.
Don't drive angry.
Yeah, for me it's
don't drive angry.
For me it's the timing of stealing the cash out of the bank truck. Is one of my favorite scenes where he's just like dog bark, car. And then counts
Winds
down,
blow.
car. perfect. Bill Murray's deadpan delivery of that entire scene sells it. I don't think anyone else could do it that well. But that scene every time that stuck with me since like the first time my dad showed it to me is that money scene. Every time I think of Groundhog's Day, it's the 5.
Do you see what
4,
you did there?
3. My dad. Yeah, no, I get it.
I saw the ass
There's
part.
a lot of dad stuff happening here today.
I go to therapy. It's
And the
cool.
groundhog.
But I think, just in the writing, I think Harold was talking about how when they first wrote it, they started actually in the middle of the film. And it was like the moment where he is like explaining how he's God and stuff like that. And I think it was a studio exec.
With voiceover.
Yeah, the studio exec was saying like, the audience will feel cheated and stuff like that. I think it was all on the commentary on the DVD. But I thought it was really interesting because the opening sequence of the film is also just, I don't like to throw this word around a lot, but I think it's truly a masterclass or like just the best way to, one, show a character, 2, show where the character is going, and 3, what the character wants but not needs. And so like
Your favorite line.
it is my favorite line because that's good character writing. Sorry.
Does Save the Cat or when you're quoting?
Save the kid.
But no, it's I thought it was just really cool because like you don't have to do this. Where's he's from? What's he up to? Blah blah blah. You're just like, cool. This is him, how he is, and he's a piece of shit. And obviously he's gonna grow from this, or he may not. Who knows? But then you'll see him throughout the film just grow and change because of the circumstances he's in, and it's like very very wonderful.
Yeah.
I don't know if this was also, I haven't watched the DVD extras, but I heard that those shots in the television studio were filmed as pickup shots after they'd shown it to test audiences.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I'm so glad that's there because they may not have had enough to establish how much we're supposed to hate him
Yeah.
No.
and how much the other people are a victim of his cruelty.
And the
So
thing is,
I guess it would have just started in the van on the way to the town.
Mhm.
yeah, and
Wow.
like
It's a
I've
different
always
movie.
said, like a good way to start narrative is characters going to a place or character coming to entering a place, changing the status quo, or leaving your status quo to go somewhere else. So it already gives you this idea of being transported. So like, yeah, it's very much like you're going from A to B, and then in B, that's where the character development happens. So I think it's. I was like, wow, this is good. Even though it ended a relationship for a little bit. Damn, baby.
Yeah, I could definitely fit the diagram of the perfect screenplay, even though it's just the same day over and over because his character's journey is so clear.
Yeah, you do what's right for the character and you torture them. You make sure that like they learn the lesson, and it's not without like contrivance, but it's because the character doesn't want to learn the lesson and then finally ultimately has to like, oh, I got the thing I wanted, but
Stop
this is not the way I
resisting.
got it.
Yeah.
I love that him learning this lesson was literally him dying over and over again.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
physically,
right.
mentally, spiritually, emotionally.
Dying in different ways.
Like this
Yeah.
literally killed him like probably hundreds of times
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
him to be like,
Stabbed,
okay, this
shot,
is not
hit by a train.
There's a line I
burned,
think he says like,
electrocuted.
I don't even know if I exist anymore, which I was like, oh, okay, all right, I get it. 2020, I get it, it, guys.
That's about the time that I was like, I love this movie.
That's
So
what it was.
brilliant.
Yeah. It's
You
a
guys
beautiful
know
movie.
what your perfect final day in the loop would be, or have you already
Whoa.
lived
April 25th. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. You need a
it? Not
light.
too close.
You need a light sweater.
Okay,
All you
Miss
need is a light
Congeniality.
jacket.
No,
That's a good
I have
question.
no
That's a
idea.
hard question to
What-
answer.
What's yours, Becca? Because you.
No, I wanted to ask a hard question to you guys and
Yeah.
never answer it myself.
She's done answering questions.
Oh, I'm gonna say my wedding day.
That's what I was gonna say.
Oh.
Okay, I'll change it.
Yeah,
must
because it
be-
started with massages, couples massage in the morning.
Oh,
We got married in Costa Rica.
Oh, nice.
And
God.
everything was beautiful. Plantains for breakfast and
Oh,
Ooh.
hanging
dang.
out with our friends in this beautiful villa we rented, and it was pretty
you guys,
pretty
if
magical.
you guys ever get remarried, can I come?
Mhm.
Well, funny. Next summer is our 5-year, and when we were there,
Congratulations.
we said we're coming back here in 5 years. This place is amazing, and so we'll see if travel
Fingers
still
crossed.
happens. But Caitlin, you have invited yourself, and therefore you will
Yes.
come.
She does that. She does
Suck it, everybody else. I'm going.
Go ahead, Corey.
What's
What's your
I was
favorite?
gonna say
Your wedding day?
probably no. I won't.
It was
say
a cool
that.
day,
That'll be
though.
more interesting. It was a fun day. I'll say. You know what? I'll say first day of the honeymoon. We were in Hawaii. Waking up in Hawaii we were, because we're 3 hours ahead here. So we woke up and watched the sunrise with coffee because we were like, California time. I'll say that day. And then we went, what's it called? Not windsurfing, but where you're behind a boat and you're in the air with the parachute.
Parasailing.
We went parasailing. And
wow.
yeah, I'd say that was a good day to live over and over again. And then we had a cabana on the beach. So
must be nice.
Perfect.
Wow.
Oh man, so far 2 for 2
All right,
of it not in our own houses.
Let's go, married folk.
It's got to be on a beach somewhere.
So I'm the
it's
next
be
married
for eternity.
folk.
I better
Yes,
be comfortable.
yes, you are. What's up, married folk?
My perfect day. I feel like I've had a lot of them because my wife is an amazing travel buddy. You learn a lot in a
Good
relationship because how you travel together.
Oh yeah.
My wife is an amazing travel buddy, and
Shout out to your wife.
What does she do? What can we all learn? Tips for being a good travel buddy.
well, I mean, I think it's just we apply what we know in marriage. Of like most of the time, I call it the 9 out of 10 rule. 9 out of 10 times, you're not angry about the thing you think that you're angry about. And so when you're traveling,
Pretty accurate.
and especially in a relationship, so you have to be very mindful of like, I'm really pissed off right now. Well, stop and go, you know what? I'm just hungry, or I'm tired, or whatever, or I'm in pain because
and
I've
8
been
times
walking.
out of 10, it's because you're hungry.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like
Angry.
traveling, we're just like, so there's been times where we've been like so angry, and then we're like, we're just really hungry right now.
We should grab a burger.
We should, like in one day in Paris, we didn't have
Sounds like a
any
movie.
plans. We didn't have any plans, and we said, you know what? Let's just grab the guidebook and let's just fuck off. And let's just go to the next thing. Let's go to the next thing, whatever. And no real plans, just like, that looks fun. Let's go over there. And when we got hungry, we stopped. When we were like, oh, I wonder what that is. Let's go check it out. And it was just
There's
just
your day.
a fun day. It was just a
All right.
fun day. Tom
I respect that.
or Caitlin?
Caitlin,
Love it.
ladies first.
Oh, okay. The most kind of magical day that I remember in recent history is I was traveling with my mom. She's a elementary school music teacher,
Shout out to your
and
mom.
she got a grant to study Japanese folk music. So
Cool.
we
Wow.
traveled for 6 weeks from the complete north to the complete south of Japan. And we decided to take a day with just the two of us. And we went to Hakone, which is like at the base of Mount Fuji. And we got
Ooh.
lost on these. We went the wrong way, basically. Like there was a straight path to go to Hakone, and then there's like going around the other side of the mountain. That's the way we took. And we were on all these like the switchback train that like goes kind of zigzag up the back of a mountain, and we ended up being on this boat that goes around this like beautiful curve with a
Nice.
shrine and surrounded by trees and fishing boats and everything. And I'll never forget going on that switchback train because it was hydrangea season.
Oh.
And we were out in the middle of kind of nowhere. But there were all these like, we were coming out of these very like Ghibli-esque, mossy,
Nice.
like train tunnels. And then you come out and then the sun was like coming down beautifully on all these different colored hydrangeas. And just like, it smelled so sweet. And it was so like, you had the like bump and creak of the train and
Nice.
and then
A little
it was just
dream.
the nature. And I think that was one of those times where I really like connected with my mom and like what I personally like in my life. So that was like a very perfect day for me, I think.
I love that.
So good.
Yeah.
Good
I'm not
answer,
going to
you
follow up
man.
with that. What the
Yeah,
heck?
I'm sorry. I was trying to have you go first, but you did the
But
ladies first
also,
thing. So here you go.
Yeah, beat an entire Studio Ghibli film.
Does it have
Yeah,
to
good
have
luck.
happened? Did the perfect day happen, or is it going to happen? That's the
Ooh.
question, right?
If you want to switch it up so you can
I'm
have a
still
better
waiting.
answer, you go for it.
No, because I'm thinking about it. Because it's like, is the perfect day the one that you would strive for? Is it behind you? It doesn't mean you can't have good days as well. But in my mind, like when I think about like quote unquote really really good days I've had, but what I would think is the best day is, in all honesty, like finishing up a creative project, whether it's a film that I wrote and directed, or working on something that we've done with a podcast, some kind of sense. Obviously, I'm married to the woman of my dreams, and she's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my entire life. And then she puts her hand on my shoulder and says, "You never have to work a day in your life again." And I'll just be so validated. I'm just like, all the pain.
Be so bored.
Well, no,
Yeah.
but then I would honestly look back and
You have
say,
to do it over
but I
again.
still want to continue working. You know what I mean? Like
So
the
wait.
idea that you don't have to, but then
A-
you still choose to because
Right.
it's what you love. You know, you love
cathartic moment?
You don't just make things. You
Wait, your wife is a sugar mama?
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know
And
what?
that's what he
Hey,
wants.
look,
Wants a sugar
hey,
mama.
hey. If she makes,
He
you know,
wants
with
him
an
to swoop
Amazon
in
and makes
and be like,
$13
"Don't
billion
worry,
a
baby, I
day, I'm
got
okay
you."
with that. But also I'd be like, hey girl, I want to make sure you don't have to work if you don't want to. But if I want, you know what I mean? Like, but that's the kind of thing where it's just like the working
Here's
really
your
hard
allowance.
and then
go
the,
buy a smoothie.
the
Yeah, right, Tom.
validation at the very end of the day of just kind of like, you did a really good thing and you don't have to work anymore. And you're just like, I can rest finally. So
Okay,
that's
Tony
the
Stark.
eternal
Rest you speak
slumber.
of.
That sounds so like I know you're a big Batman fan. I feel like that's you want what Bruce Wayne
Batman
wants,
wants,
where
yeah.
it's like all the crime is finally gone
You're
and
done.
you can go.
The
"I'm done.
eternal,
I can
internal,
rest."
and external and eternal battles have ended.
Yeah.
Mm.
And they've all been won. There's no more battles to fight. But I mean, in all honesty, like what Becca was saying, it's like I don't want to be bored, but it's just kind of like you don't have to fight anymore. You're done. Like it's
Right.
good. You don't have anything to prove. You know, like
You're
everything's
saying you just
separate.
want to be able to work out of passion, not
not out of like
survival.
Yeah, out of survival. Where
Got
yeah,
you.
you
All
know,
right, I
financial
respect that.
freedom. I think I'm a simple guy. You know,
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah.
I respect that.
We all, except for Tom, chose vacations and escape from our normal
did.
lives, which is interesting because, you know, when you think about what is happiness, I think it's the act of accomplishing things. As you said, Tom, finishing a project. And yet none of us picked that as our perfect day. It was a day where we didn't feel like we had to do anything except maybe go for a walk in a nice place.
Yeah. I mean, it breaks up the
weird.
monotony of day to day, right? Those are the things that stand out to us. Like being on a beach in Hawaii I'll remember more than that time I drove to In-N-Out Burger with a bunch of friends. Like it was fun, but that beach was so memorable.
I think it's a perspective shift. Like
Mhm.
not being in something that's your normal surroundings. Cause like
Sure.
I could give a very long-winded answer of why that
That
time
wasn't
was
long
so
before?
important to me. No, I could go on for a long time.
I think you're right, Caitlin.
But I think it's
I think you
just
need to start a
perspective.
meditation podcast where you just describe your travels with your mom.
Hydrangeas.
Very soothing. Yes, I know. I have
It
that
was.
voice.
It was a very soothing voice.
But yeah, I think it's just a perspective shift. Like you finally get that. It's kind of a cathartic breakaway from the normal hustle and bustle. Like Tom's is project based, but I feel like they're kind of the same thing. You just want that cathartic release of like, here's my normal, and then here's like a departure. And I think
dig
we're
it.
all saying the same thing, but they come in different packages.
Yeah.
Mine just happens
that.
at the moment that I can actually do the things that you guys did.
You know?
Yeah,
that's
it's like
great.
that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
now I can settle down. Now I can.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right.
Becca, thank you so much for your time. I mean, now
This
is
was a
the
blast.
now is the shameless plug time. What would you like the Nerd On family to check out?
Oh, no big deal. Where do I start? Let me get my list. No. Actually, I would love if they want to find me on YouTube. I have created a channel called Good Time Society, and there I
Yeah.
post sometimes weird comedy videos, but mostly board game tutorial videos. And we'll see what else. I post some of my Twitch streams and stuff there. So that's Good Time Society. I have a podcast called To Boldly Watch, where me and some buddies rewatch Star Trek The Next Generation.
Mhm,
I know you had Jonathan Frakes on the show, so of course that was the
Mhm.
one I clicked on to get a flavor for
Oh, yeah.
what you guys are up to. It's very exciting. So, watch along with us there. We're still in season 1 at about episode 18, so we're chugging along and loving it. And then, I'm on everything at the Becca Scott. So please give me a follow if you can tolerate
Highly
me.
recommend the
Go
Twitch.
check her out.
I have
She's
one
pretty cool.
question. Where did Good Time Society name come from?
Brainstorming for a really, really long time
That sounds
with my friend who helps me write the scripts. He's sort of my partner in the business, and we kept shooting down each other's favorite ideas. I want to call it Game Teach. I thought it was so cool. I'm your Game Teach. And he was like, no, we're not going to call it that. And the first video we shot, I kept calling myself Game Teach in the intro, and then we changed the name, and he's like, now we're stuck with this. I told you to do a safety and you refused.
Well, second account. Second account.
Yeah.
Yeah. but I just like society. There's a board game company called Monocle Society, and I kind of like that secret society vibe. Plus, we're just here for the good times. So, it didn't come from anything in particular except for looking really hard for a name that wasn't already taken.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
Nice.
Getting harder and harder to do as
really
time
is.
goes on.
But, thank you so much for spending time with us.
I feel like I have 4 new best friends, guys.
Oh, yay.
Now we're going to go to all your re-weddings. We're going to have to pull you in for all of our films that we're
I'm just
shooting.
going to be a third
Yeah, we're all
wheel
gonna go
when it's just you and your
parasailing.
husband. And I'm like, hey, guys, I
I'm
got
just
the
looking forward to the
plantains.
Magic the Gathering playing online. It's going to happen someday.
Okay. That was awesome. That was a
We
wonderful.
have a new friend. It's official.
It is official.
Yeah, we
We're
do.
going
She
to
already-
weddings.
She just followed us on Twitter.
Yay!
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
And I followed her back immediately.
Good.
That's why I was looking
Send
at my
her
phone.
my scripts.
Everybody at home, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this interview. We certainly did. It's so much fun to get to talk to our guest about something that they are a nerd of. It's one of my favorite things about this show. But yeah, do stop by, rate and review us wherever you listen. If you are new
Please.
to Nerd On, check out our website.
Please.
Please.
Please rate us. That's all I'm asking for.
Also, it really helps a lot, and it makes us feel warm and fuzzy.
We
'cause
rate so many things for you. Could you just rate us?
Whether you
Wow.
give
Out
a
of 5
fuck
stars?
about
the
me
desperation
or
on this
about
is hanging
Nerd On,
thick.
just rate. God.
We're fine. Everything's
Just
fine.
makes us feel nice. That's
We'll
all.
end the shutdown if you rate us.
Wow. No, we
Don't
can't make those promises.
So
No,
that's
anyway.
a fucking lie.
Yeah.
It is.
But yeah, thank you so much for listening. Do share us with your friends, your family, on all of the socials and all that jazz. As I said at the top, please do consider joining the Nerd On Nation. It does allow us to grow and to be the best that we can be. That is nerdon.io/Patreon. And do check out that Discord. It is hopping. There are so many members now and it keeps growing and I love it. nerdon.io/Discord.
I'm trying to do the / Patreon. Maybe Julie can put it here. Is that the wrong way? Would it be this way?
Yes.
Patreon.
Julie's like, why are you giving me work, Corey?
/
Why you giving me work?
Patreon.
Huh?
She's
Julie,
gonna
just
do it.
Shout
now.
out to Julie.
Just turn off his feed at this point.
He's gonna put a little poop emoji in front of your face.
Okay, everybody at home,
I'm just
thank
holding
you.
still for it.
Holding still for the poop. Well, on that note, you know the drill. As always, Nerd on.
Ending broadcast.